break. The U.S. Supreme Court handed a major victory to the pro-life movement on Thursday, deciding by a vote of 6-3 that Planned Parenthood does not have the right to sue South Carolina for removing the abortion giant from its Medicaid program. This has major implications for the nation's biggest abortion seller. Other pro-life states would now be able to follow South Carolina's lead and remove Planned Parenthood as qualified Medicaid providers. The seeds of the case were sown in 2018 when South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster first denied Medicaid funds to Planned Parenthood. Payment of taxpayer funds to abortion clinics for any purpose results in the subsidy of abortion and the denial of the right to life, McMaster said at the time, echoing a truth all pro-life Americans know. Now in South Carolina, the unborn are protected from abortion after 6 weeks gestation. But Planned Parenthood businesses in Charleston and Columbia provide contraception, screenings for sexually transmitted infections, and hormones for confused men, women, and teens who believe they were born into the wrong body. Medicaid recipients could get this so-called care at Planned Parenthood, but that will now end in South Carolina and possibly in other states devoted to protecting the unborn. Priests for Life National Director Frank Pavone arrived outside the Supreme Court moments before the decision was made public, and he recorded this video.
I am outside the Supreme Court here, and we just had a favorable decision in the South Carolina case. The state may, in fact, defund the abortion industry. This was a controversy. We'll get into more detail with you, but you can see the celebration happening right now here in front of the court.
Justice Neil Gorsuch, a Trump nominee to the Supreme Court, wrote the opinion that was joined by Chief Justice John Roberts, Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, and the court's other two Trump appointees, Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. The three liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, predictably dissented. The parliamentarian of the U.S. Senate on Wednesday nixed a provision of the Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill that would have prevented Obamacare subsidies for health insurance plans that cover abortion services. But another section of the bill that would freeze Medicaid funding for abortion providers, including Planned Parenthood, is still in the bill, at least for now. The parliamentarian for the last 13 years has been Elizabeth McDonough, who was appointed by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, a pro-abortion Democrat from Nevada. Her role in the ongoing budget reconciliation process is to ensure that bills that can be passed with a simple majority adhere to the Byrd Rule, which requires that such bills only contain budgetary matters. Some senators, including Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, would like to see McDonough lose her job. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune, while acknowledging that the parliamentarian's role is only advisory, has said he will not go against her. A Baltimore judge this week found that a 28-year-old man who viciously assaulted two elderly pro-life men outside Planned Parenthood in 2023 had not intended to cause serious harm and therefore was not guilty of a felony assault charge. After Patrick Bryce tackled then 84-year-old Dick Schaefer, knocking him into a concrete planter and causing him to lose consciousness, Mark Crosby, then 73, ran over to help Schaefer. But Bryce plowed into him, knocked him to the ground, straddled his chest while punching him, then kicked him in the face before walking away. All of this was captured on video, but none of it seemed to make an impression on Judge Yvette Bryant, who thought Crosby may have provoked Bryce by appearing to want to fight the 6'2", 200-pound man rather than assist his unconscious friend. Crosby's attorney, Terrell Roberts, called the judge's decision a miscarriage of justice. Provocation can be a circumstance that is a defense to a first-degree assault, but not in this case, Roberts said. For anyone to conclude, as the judge did, that Crosby's act was legally adequate provocation is absurd. Even Bryce's attorney did not make that argument. In a previous trial, Bryce was convicted on several misdemeanor charges stemming from the attack. He will be sentenced August 7th, and he remains free on his own recognizance until then. Crosby's eyesight has been permanently damaged. In an exclusive interview with the Wall Street Journal, pro-life Congresswoman Kat Cammack of Florida detailed her frightening experience with a life-threatening ectopic pregnancy last year. Days after the interview was published, she and her staff had to flee her office after receiving death threats. When Cammack showed up in an emergency room in May 2024 seeking treatment to end an ectopic pregnancy, the state's heartbeat bill had just been enacted. She was 5 weeks pregnant and the baby's heartbeat had not been detected. Nothing anyone could do would save the baby, who was growing outside of her womb, but doctors initially refused to treat her. Now, pregnant again and looking forward to an August delivery, Cammack faults the abortion advocates for scaring medical professionals into inaction. It was absolute fear-mongering at its worst, she told the Wall Street Journal in the interview published Sunday. Then, on Wednesday, Kamek's D.C. office was evacuated by the Capitol Police after what she described as imminent death threats against me, my unborn child, my family, and my staff from abortion zealots. We've received thousands of hate-filled messages and dozens of credible threats from pro-abortion activists, which law enforcement is actively investigating, Kamek's press office posted on X. We may yet get justice for the DC-5, late-term babies aborted by abortionist Cesar Santangelo at his Washington Surgery Clinic. The bodies were recovered from the abortion business 3 years ago, and pro-lifers, including U.S. senators and House members, since then have been calling for an investigation into how they died. Some appeared to have been born alive, and others aborted through the illegal partial birth abortion procedure. This week, U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi confirmed there is an ongoing investigation into the babies' deaths. House Democrats this week failed in their attempt to quash an FDA review of the abortion drug mifepristone. The House Appropriations Committee approved the review despite a Democrat member introducing an amendment that would have killed it. Chemical abortion killed 2 women in Georgia and a woman in Nevada in recent years, and a new report from a pro-life organization found that 1 in 9 women suffer adverse effects that require hospital treatment following the at-home procedure. In a related development, a new bill introduced in Congress aims to prevent abortionists from flushing aborted babies in public water systems, a practice pro-life advocates call a depraved disregard for the sanctity of life. The Respectful Treatment of Unborn Remains Act, introduced Wednesday by Representative Brandon Gill of Texas and Senator Jim Banks of Indiana, both Republicans, seeks to ensure that aborted babies are treated with dignity and not flushed into sewers like medical waste. The legislation comes in response to growing concerns about the environmental and ethical implications of chemical abortions, which account for roughly 2/3 of all abortions in the U.S. According to a recent report by Liberty Counsel Action, an estimated 30 to 40 tons of fetal remains and abortion pill byproducts are flushed into public water systems annually. The mainstream media this week celebrated the 3rd anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade by publishing gleeful stories about rising abortion numbers and boasting that 155,000 women, a fifth of them from Texas, traveled out of state to end their children's lives last year. Pro-life activists understood that our work was not done when the U.S. Supreme Court voted 5-4 to overturn Roe in 2022. On the anniversary this week, Priests for Life National Director Frank Pavone described the monumental decision as an unfolding victory that continues to bear fruit, and he advised us all to keep our eyes on the prize. That's some of what's making news this week. Thank you for tuning in. If you would like to keep up with our press releases and commentary, go to prolife.press or scan the barcode on your screen. Have a safe and blessed weekend, and please remember always that life is the only